Sorry.
Yes, same. Yes, same. They ignore reality. And 35% of the time, the eighth guy will say, yeah, my reality, I'm with y'all. But if you have just one person in that chain of 7 to disagree, it drops down to 5%. Suddenly this person's willing to hop on somebody else's ship because they can see that island in the sea and this void of
and I love
lives.
it.
Come on, boys. The island's safe. Okay, it's warm. Trump's got this.
Wait, what?
Different linked lines, participants.
Sorry.
So yes, same. Yes, same. They ignore reality. And 35% of the time, the eighth guy will say, yeah, my reality, I'm with y'all. But if you have just one person in that chain of 7 to disagree, it drops down to 5%. Suddenly this person's willing to hop on somebody else's ship because they can see that island in the sea and this void of
and I love
lives.
it.
Come on, boys. The island's safe. Okay, it's warm. Trump's got this locked up. Go to every single swing state. Use whatever polling you want. I prefer registered voters because those are the guys who are up for it. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Georgia, Florida, Ohio, Virginia's not that far out of reach. Biden's, of course, leading Virginia by 2 or 3, but it's going to be one of those too close to call, folks. The state of Virginia, it's going to be neck and neck.
And also down ballot races are obviously super important.
More important than the presidency.
The best, we'll say just as important, but the best the Democrats can do in the Senate is 50-50. The West Virginia seat is fucking gone. And so it's down to Ohio and
Michigan,
Montana.
Minnesota.
No. The only two Senate races right now that are truly competitive are Ohio and Montana. And if the Democrats can win, and Democrats or the rest of the country are well overperforming Biden, like by 8 to 12 points. It's crazy how much they're overpolling from him. But if Democrats can hold those two states, then they can keep it 50-50. But
that won't matter because Trump will be president. He'll have the VP will have the vote.
Well, that's why they want. That's why Pelosi and them want Biden to step aside, is because they're seriously worried about him dragging down ballot candidates, which is obviously real concern. He's been trending in the wrong direction since the debate.
It's why I say Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Donald Trump ever could be by this arrogant.
It's such a fucking retarded thing. Like, Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy because he might be the reason why Donald Trump loses, who would destroy democracy. Why can't we just say that, like, oh, wouldn't that just make Donald Trump the biggest threat then to democracy? It's like saying, like, Ukraine would be the cause of World War III if Ukraine responds too aggressively to Russia's invasion. Maybe Russia, like, shouldn't have invaded? Maybe that would be, like, the thing? Or
fucking nonsense that he's pulling right now. Like I'm Big Boy Joe and I know better than all of you and anyone. 65% of my party polled right now thinks that I should drop out. 65% of my party. And yet, no, I'm in there. He's sick right now with COVID somewhere and he still sees a way out.
Kyle, I want to pierce this balloon. I need a chance to reply. After the RNC, John McCain was leading. After the RNC, Mitt Romney was leading. After the DNC, Hillary Clinton was leading. The fact that you are having a good time right now at this moment where everything is going Trump's way, and he's leading by what nationally? 2%, 3%? That's not a lot. This contest is still on.
We don't do a popular vote, and Donald Trump just took a bullet to the head.
So another thing to consider.
Joe's in bed. Joe's in bed. Donald got shot in the head. That's what happened this week.
I don't interfere with your Republican on Republican violence. I blame your video games and your culture. I think the guy maybe played Rust. He was a roof camper. That's my theory on this whole thing. But it had nothing to do with us.
So another thing to consider,
he donated to get out the vote for Vote Blue.
And it's not even an argument. Another thing that is true is, like, I don't think you should ignore the polls, and I especially don't think you should ignore trends. Like, there's a lot of like insanely pro-Biden Twitter accounts that are just full-on copium. They only point to the polls that have him up like +1 and ignore all the rest that have him down like 5 or 6.
Pennsylvania.
Wait, how profitable was 538? Literally 99% of Trump's supporters are conspiracy theorists. How did we let America get this misinformed and lead by random conspiracy theories online instead of listening to reputable sources of news? Good question. Fox News is partially to blame, though. $250,000? Damn. Did he like own part of that company and they like sold it or something, or he sold it to ABC? 538 sale filings. People say poker. I don't believe that at all. But okay. I don't know why I just clicked this. How much should they sell it for? Is it like publicly listed anywhere? ABC, it should be, right? Via Hendon Mob. What are you looking for exactly? I'm just curious how much 538 sold for. 250K is a big bet. Like, this guy's worth over, like, my guess would be over $20 million if he's willing to just like throw out a $250,000 bet, unless he's just posturing and he's hoping that he doesn't accept. They were trying to sell, but you don't know if they did. Huh.
I think it is fair to point out, though, that number one, the
250K is all he's got. He's trying to double up.
one and ignore all the rest. I have him down like 5 or 6.
Pennsylvania.
I think it is fair to point out, though, that number one, the polls in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania are within the margin of error, and if Biden can win all 3 of those, he does win the presidency, assuming he stays in, which he won't. And number 2, the polls have been underselling Democrats since the Dobbs decision. There was a red wave predicted in 2022. The most projections had Republicans winning anywhere between a 25 and a 35 seat majority, if I recall correctly. That didn't pan out. We've seen Democrats overperforming in special elections, not just in specific enclaves of the country, but all over the country. I don't think you should hang your hat on that and ignore the trends, but I think there is some reason to be dubious in this spot.
I want to get a count real quick. Kyle is the only one who thinks Joe is going to still be the guy.
No,
I think he's going to stay in.
You think he's going to stay?
Yeah.
I think he's going to be forced out. And Hutch, what do you both think Biden's going to be forced out?
Kamala?
He's gone. He's gone. Yeah, and Kamala will probably
I think it won't be Biden.
I think,
confidence.
Didn't he
You're going to
openly
run an
say,
Indian
like,
lady against a guy with an Indian wife? As
I'm
his
hoping it's
second?
Whitmore,
That's,
but
Those cancel
that's
out.
crazy.
that cancels out?
If you're Whitmer,
Yeah.
would you say yes? I mean, I feel like if you're Whitmer, if you're Newsom, if you're Buttigieg or whatever, and you have these larger aspirations for the
Please
presidency,
run Buttigieg.
Why would
Layup.
you not wait until 2028? I mean, it's,
Yeah, I think, yeah, man, dude, if you have aspirations for, well, or maybe not, who knows, bro? Everything is so wacky right now. Maybe this is the best chance. Who knows? Do you think a single person on the conservative side will denounce anything Loomer said, or will they just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist? Probably ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist. Even on her deathbed, this ghetto bitch couldn't keep President Trump's name out of her disgusting mouth. I'd say rest in peace, but we all know lying Democrats who have destroyed our country are going to hell. Sheila Jackson Lee will be remembered as a destructive force in America and one of the most low IQ members of Congress in the history of our nation. Today, she died. Instead of spending her final moments with her family, she was talking shit about Trump on X and spewing more lies. She won't be missed. But I'm sure she will be voting for Democrat in this November. Good riddance. I'm sure there will be the same outcry here.
it's just so risky to because if you swing once and miss, it's really difficult to come back from that.
I follow a lot of sports, and one of the major points of winning the championship is getting to the championship. And I feel like they're offering her a seat at the finals. You say no to that? Against Trump? Trump sucks. The only person Trump can beat in an election is Hillary Clinton so far. Trump lost to Biden, hiding in the basement, while Trump went out there.
You also remember, we qualify more things, okay? Be proud, liberals. Hillary Clinton lost the election to Donald Trump. She still crushed him in the popular vote. Millions more votes than Trump, okay? Always remember to point that out, okay?
And lost the election on himself. People are like, I can't believe Biden got 81 million votes. Biden got like 1 million votes. And then there were 80 million against Trump.
Yes.
So then why would Biden drop out then if they're just voting against Trump?
Because 2 out of 3 Democratic voters want him gone, including a plurality of black voters. It's like and independent voters, it's like 70% want him gone. It's just all.
So it wasn't about Trump.
Wait, what? When?
You asked why they
first
want him
time, the election you stole, that wasn't just voting against Trump. It doesn't matter who he's running against. They're just going to vote against him again, right?
The election
so what does it matter?
The election that Biden won was not enthusiasm for Biden. He has never had a cult of personality like Obama or Clinton or JFK or whatever. He was seen as this or Trump for that matter. It was people were way more engaged with politics because they were spending way more time indoors and spending way more time on social media, and there was a huge influx of voters that were disgusted with Trump. That's what happened. So he's just like it's just not gonna. It's not the same. It's a totally different dynamic now, which is why he needs, in my opinion, he needs to step aside.
Yeah. Well, he also needs to step aside, not just because of the polling, because he's a senile old man, and he has been for years. And it's wild to see the pivot from the media, who just until a week ago was calling people conspiracy theorists for pointing out that this guy can't find his way up an airplane flight of stairs, and he's walking around with Mr. fucking Burns' hands. And then suddenly it's like the media says one thing about it, and everyone's like, oh, okay, we've been given permission to talk about this. Yeah, he's a senile old man. We gotta get him out.
Also, keep in mind, too, unless somebody's contradicted me on this, if stuff like this is leaking to the media, it's probably intentional. This isn't happening by accident, and it's not happening because of the strongest argument that Joe Biden doesn't actually want to step down is the fact that all of this stuff is leaking to the media because people are trying to pressure him to leave. That Obama and Pelosi and other leadership is trying to pressure him to leave. And since they can't do it internally, they're like, fuck it, all right, talk to our media contact, get them to leak it or whatever. And now people see there's pressure externally, and it's supposed to pressure Biden to probably to step down, right? AOC said as much in her live stream. Well, there you go. She'd know more than me.
Who here thinks Biden has a degenerative neural disorder of some kind, a Parkinson's-esque thing?
We have no idea about that, but okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay.
obvious.
You don't much.
I have not seen evidence. I mean, I'm not a Parkinson's expert. I mean, he's a 81-year-old man, and for all intents and purposes, he's aging like a normal 81-year-old man. The problem is, there's a lot of people like Taylor that think he's literally senile. Whatever. I mean, my opinion aside, there's just a lot of people that think that, and a lot of people have concerns that he can't serve a second term. And
my grandparents are about 81, and they are not senile, and so they don't behave like Biden does. They can hold conversations with you. They don't get randomly angry when it gets to be nighttime. They don't get sundowning, which is a sign of dementia, where they become
randomly angry. Wait, are there video clips of Biden getting randomly angry? Also, bro, people have different cognitive levels when they age. It like depends a lot. Like the idea, like, oh no, at 81, everybody's like sharp as a tack. Like it super depends. My grandma's not a good example because she had dementia. Because I was gonna say, my grandma had all sorts of crazy things in her 60s, but because she had Alzheimer's disease, or I think she just has some kind of dementia. I don't know if it was actually diagnosed Alzheimer's disease. I'm trying to think, who else did I know? My kid's mom, Rachel's great grandma. That woman was fucking wild. We went to a family reunion. Family reunions are very interesting. We've got like great grandparents there, because you'll have like two people, and then like before you, there's like 100 people who all exist because of like these two people. She was incredibly sharp, and I think she was like 102 years old. Jesus, like damn.
Irritable and extremely tired. Like I think Woody was talking about a Parkinson's expert who finally got on the news, and they were like, "Hey, it's okay to notice this now." He's like, "Oh, okay, good. Yeah, this guy has fucking Parkinson's."
I saw about a 10-minute video from a Parkinson's expert, so now I am also a Parkinson's expert.
Same.
Doctor. And Woody saw that video, and so now I am a Parkinson's expert.
Doctor.
But no, actually, I could send you the video, Hutch. It was incredibly influential on me. I know, right? But if you saw it, I think you'd be like, oh, this guy.
I'm open-minded to stuff. I'm not a neurological expert, and I've been around somebody in close proximity who had full-on dementia. It looked nothing like this. I mean, just nothing like it. So, but I also have a friend who works in hospice.
I would also say, man, you gotta depend. It really depends. Remember what I've said before is people draw really big inferences from one interaction, right? When somebody tells you, I hate Indians, they're rude and fucking horrible, right? What they're really telling you is, I had one bad experience with an Indian. Or if they say, I hate the XYZ people, I hate Asian people, it's because they had one bad experience with an Asian. Like, this is 99% of the time, people generalize from one thing. Yeah, I don't know. My grandma was in, is it hospice? Would it have been hospice? It was some kind of home before she ended up moving down with my parents. But in walking through there, I guess everybody didn't have dementia, but the differences in cognitive levels of people, even with dementia, can be even the same person. Because like my grandma, there were times where, I think I said this, I noticed it like when she would sit and watch TV, she was just laughing along with the studio audience. I don't think she had any concept of what she was watching some days. It was at the point where I had full power of attorney over her when I was like 19 because I had to manage her bills and shit. No, 18? No, 17. 18, I think. And, But so some days she's like completely fucking just staring at the TV. But then other days she's at lunch, she's talking with all her girlfriends. Like I come home and they're like all chatting and laughing, and she's like super lucid, super like cognizant of everything happening. She's like super like, oh, okay. So, and that's just one person, right? The exact same person, just from one day to the next, could change. So all this to say, I would be very careful about generalizing what people with dementia or different cognitive declines can look like, or neurodegenerative things can look like. These can manifest in a lot of different ways, and even in an individual, it could vary from day to day. Just, I'd say, be careful saying like, this is what all of these types of people look like,
And he says he sees Parkinson's all the time. And he says when he looks at Biden, he thinks Parkinson's. So I'm open. I'm just.
So one of the things this guy talked about was not just the mental stuff, which is what we're focused on in this conversation, the physical stuff.
His physical gait.
Okay, so then would you trust your grandma running the country, someone who's pretty much there but can have some really bad days? In an ideal world, I'm not sure if I would want Biden running the country cognitively. I would want my Alzheimer's disease, lung cancer-ridden grandma to run the country over Hitler, though. So...
the way that he shuffles, the way that he walks without swinging his hands, the way that he turns. If I were to ask you, yeah, that's actually true. If I were to say, hey, Hutch, you'd probably turn your upper body and look at me quickly. If I said,
big ups, Nebraska Steve, absolute W take on Trump, assassination attempt, and the racist that brought it. Also, big ups on making that pig scammer sweat on Lol Cow Live. Jesus Christ.
Hey, Joe, he'd pivot his whole body and shift towards me. Yeah. And one of the things he said, I don't know why it hit me so hard, is he's like, I could diagnose this guy from across the mall. Now, I am an expert in swimming. If I see a guy take 2 strokes.
Destiny, would you agree that what you just said means that just because Biden has good days is not proof of the fact that he does not have some sort of degenerative issue? Yeah, I guess. I don't think I've ever made the statement, Biden absolutely doesn't have any degenerative issue. I don't know that. I can't know that. I haven't done like a full investigation or a full review. I have no fucking idea. He could. I don't know if him like fucking up debates is enough to say that you have dementia. And I understand too, again, this is like, I don't even try these arguments publicly because it's a waste of time. But dementia refers like pretty specifically to, I think dementia requires physical deterioration of the brain. And it's not just like ordinary cognitive aging. Let me double check on this. Dementia is a syndrome associated with many neurodegenerative diseases characterized by a general decline in cognitive abilities that affects a person's ability to perform everyday tasks. Problems with memory, thinking, behavior, and motor control. Aside from memory impairment and a disruption of thought patterns, most common symptoms of dementia include emotional problems, difficulty with thinking. Okay, maybe not. Maybe dementia can be a bit broader. But somebody having like trouble with conversations and stuff, or especially like with live debates, doesn't necessarily imply dementia, right? It could just be aging and, or ordinary cognitive declines from aging. I don't know if I've seen something from Biden where I'm like, oh my God, absolutely dementia, versus like this guy is getting older, 100%. but not to say like this positively, like, oh, he absolutely doesn't have dementia because he had a good conversation. People can be very far into Alzheimer's disease, like years in, and have really bright days and good conversations. It's possible,
I can tell you his level of swing competence and experience. And I had this experience where I had a plantar fantasia problem with my foot. I went to an orthopedic surgeon. He had me walk like 3 strides and he could see what was up. Like he instantly understood. I thought my gait was fairly normal, but to him, it stuck out like a sore thumb. So to see a subject matter expert look at how this guy moves and say it couldn't be more obvious, I was like, oh, damn.
Well, he's clearly diminished
Democrat.
Substantially since 2020. I mean, if you want to blow your mind even more, go back to the 2012 debate with Paul Ryan. It's just he did not stutter at all. He was very cogent.
Yeah. And I thought Paul Ryan won that when I watched it, and I may have been really biased at the time, but I was like incensed that they had given it to Joe Biden. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even remember the substance of it. But as far as his dementia, like I just think it's they do that thing where they take things out of context. These little blurbs where someone gets a name wrong. Sometimes they used to do that, and I'd roll my eyes, like, come on, like. Focus on his actual flaws. Don't just cut this thing and make it look like he said the wrong thing. He was telling a joke, or he was riffing, or he was quoting, and you make it seem like he's saying the thing. I hate that. And sometimes and I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even remember the substance of it.
Since 2020. I mean, if you want to blow your mind even more, go back to the 2012 debate with Paul Ryan. It's just he did not stutter at all. He was very cogent.
Yeah. And I thought Paul Ryan won that when I watched it, and I may have been really biased at the time, but I was like incensed that they had given it to Joe Biden. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even remember the substance of it. But as far as his dementia, like I just think it's. They do that thing where they take things out of context. These little blurbs where someone gets a name wrong. Sometimes they used to do that, and I'd roll my eyes, like, come on, like, focus on his actual flaws. Don't just cut this thing and make it look like he said the wrong thing. He was telling a joke, or he was riffing, or he was quoting, and you make it seem like he's saying the thing. I hate that. And at first I thought that was happening to Joe Biden mostly, and it was kind of funny. And like, yeah, he is an old guy with a stutter. He does have a speech impediment. But the thing is, he keeps calling people the wrong names that are his close group. It'd be like me getting you guys' names wrong right now. And I've got notes in my hands that have your names on them. He keeps getting them wrong, and he'll be like, you caught me at a bad time. Next week I'm talking to Lester Holt, and I'll be able to tell names again. Gooder. He said Gooder.
And the scrutiny since the debate has been so much more intense. So I'll tell you from the perspective of someone who's been like a tireless Biden soldier on the front lines of the digital fucking political arena, because I do like his policies. I do like his administration's decisions, which is just all that matters to me. I got to tell you, from my perspective, I'm like the big black man at the end of the Green Mile. I'm just tired. So every time he gets in front of a microphone now, to setting aside his policies, which again I like, it's just anxiety inducing every time he speaks now. And so I'm ready to I realize it's a risky thing to have Kamala take over, but
I'm glad
like that guy Green Mile, except you're injecting poison into America instead of taking it out.
All right, let's go back
so true. So true. So true.
Wouldn't you guys say that all the dementia stuff aside, this is more about just people that are ideologically entrenched? Like if your guy was speaking the same way that Biden was speaking, you would still vote for him because you would like the policies. You would like the administration. Blah blah blah.
The moment Trump stops being funny, the moment Trump stops being funny, when the joke, when the crowd starts laughing at him instead of with him, that's the moment it breaks for me, and that's when he goes.
Hold on, Dick. You would vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump?
No, I just wouldn't vote. I never voted before Trump. I wouldn't vote again. I fucking hate Republicans. I hate Trump's entire staff. I hate JD Vance.
Maybe
we're all kind of then. Woody's the closest here to a traditional.
Yeah, but I'm the voter that you need. You have to get.
Maybe not even
guys
you.
who don't vote.
Wild cards. No, Taylor is. Taylor's.
I never voted for. I hate Republicans
right the last 10 years, Woody.
I'm sorry.
You notice Taylor's slow shift to the right the last decade, and my slow shift to the left.
I noticed Taylor's shift farther to the right, further out. You have always.
I don't think so. I think a lot of people just moved left, and maybe
you were pro-life.
I'm definitely. Oh yeah, that's true.
Pro-choice, you mean?
Dementia is necessarily neurodegenerative. If it's used to label only symptoms, it's being used in an informal way. Maybe, yeah. But I say that now, but I mean, technically, I think dementia is just considered like a syndrome or whatever, right? I don't know if you actually I don't know if you need a degradation of brain structures or if a degradation of brain structures necessarily implies dementia, because your brain deteriorates a bit as you get older, and it doesn't necessarily, like a decrease in white matter or some shit. I should just read it, actually. Fuck it. Let's check, actually. Maybe. Dementia is a syndrome associated with many neurodegenerative diseases characterized by a general decline. Okay, we read this part. Many neurocognitive disorders may be caused by another medical condition or disorder, including brain tumors, and subdural hematoma, endocrine disorders such as hypothyroid. I gotta cover this. In the early stages of dementia, symptoms what's the name of what I'm looking for? Oh no, I guess you wouldn't really have like a formal diagnosis because it's just like a syndrome, huh? Well, but that's not true because you diagnose AIDS, which is just a syndrome, and that happens after a certain white blood cell count, right? Gun to your head, would you rather have syphilis or Alzheimer's? Probably syphilis. No, isn't syphilis curable? Alzheimer's disease, is he not talking about this? Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, but it's not, but that refers to a very particular type of disease. That's a particular disease that causes dementia. Neurocognitive disorders as diagnosed in the DSM-5. Fuck all this shit. We don't have time for this. Don't have time. Don't care.
I did say it backwards. He was previously pro-choice, and now he's pro-life.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm cutting in when someone's talking right now. Yeah, I've definitely moved to the right on some stuff, like abortion. For like my mid-20s, I was one of those, like, that is a big one. And I was like someone who was pro-abortion.
Needing abortion,
like,
potentially.
Out of personal convenience of like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that. They should do it. And
You're
then
pro
I kind of
more of those people now?
I'm more anti-abortion. Like I'm pro-life, and that I think it's wrong, and I don't like it. Like, and so I would rather not see abortions happen.
I volunteer at the clinic.
Interesting.
No, you do
gas.
fucking not. You
It's
do
a
not.
fucking gas. You don't even know. This one lady, she's got a punch card.
You know what the colloquial term means that is its historical usage? Sure, but medically, dementia implies something more than just ordinary cognitive decline, right? I think dementia, once it's diagnosed that you have dementia, then most diseases associated with it are going to lead to a pretty significant decline on like a pretty limited timetable, right? Average, I don't even know if I can make that generalization actually. Let's see. Average life expectancy after dementia diagnosis. Alzheimer's disease is 3 to 11 years. That's if you're diagnosed at age 65. 3 years for people diagnosed at age... This is also hard too, though. A lot of these fuckers are diagnosed when they're really old. All right, I don't know.
She gets she loves it. She says it feels good. I'm telling you, these lefties, that's how they are. They'll get pregnant for the thrill.
Dementia isn't like the retarded word. It's a specific diagnosis. I've never thought of it as a colloquialism. Well, kind of, but it's not... It's a thing. It's a syndrome. And syndromes are just descriptions of collections of symptoms, right? If you've got a syndrome itself it's not caused by any particular thing, or it can be caused by a variety of things. It can be caused by a particular thing, but not necessarily, right? And it's not I think you can say it is a disease, or it's caused by a disease. What would the difference be between like a disease and a syndrome? Fuck. Don't stop sucking me here. Disease versus syndrome. That's what I said to your mom. A disease is a disorder that affects the body's functions, usually has a known cause, a distinct course, and established treatments. A syndrome is a group of symptoms that are known to occur together, but may not have a clear cause, course, or treatment path. Okay. AIDS is almost exclusively caused by HIV. I think there's one other really niche thing that could cause AIDS. But why is it called AIDS and not AID? Why is it called acquired immunodeficiency syndrome and not acquired immunodeficiency disease? If it's almost exclusively caused by HIV. Can I Google this? Why is it called AIDS and not AID? Somebody will have asked this question somewhere. No. It was defined before we knew what caused it. Yeah, but then you changed the word then, no? NVC, analysis, Parkinson's. Is that what you guys are saying? Is it this? Dementia is not just one disease, as the WHO described it. No, dementia is a syndrome. Dementia itself is not a one thing. It's a general description of like an accelerated neurological decline that's usually associated with diseases that are neurodegenerative in nature, meaning parts of the brain are rotting. Oh my God, there's a fucking link. Just Brandon, good job. You got a 1 day for that. Why is AIDS considered to be a syndrome and not a disease? AIDS is caused by a virus called HIV that kills the immune cells in the body. These immune cells are responsible for the production of antibodies to fight against different infections and pathogens. So when a person is infected with HIV, his or her immunity to fight against a different pathogen is lowered. As a result, different types of viral and bacterial pathogens can invade their body, and different types of disease infections affecting different body parts and organs can be developed. Hence, AIDS is not a single disease, but a group of diseases. That's why it's called a syndrome. Really, though? Because I feel like AIDS is diagnosable not once you start getting infected with opportunistic infections, which is there are a lot of natural bacteria that live in the body that once you have AIDS begin to take advantage of you opportunistically. They backstab you, right? VOSH would be an example of an opportunistic infection. AIDS. But I thought you're diagnosed with AIDS even if you don't necessarily have an opportunistic infection. I thought the diagnosis of AIDS just occurs when the white blood cell count has dropped enough. Did you ever look into IRS tax exemption or credits for your mom since she has Alzheimer's? Why would you get credits or exemptions? Wait, what? People are diagnosed with AIDS when their CD4 cell count drops below 200 cells per millimeter of blood. Or they develop certain illnesses, such as opportunistic infections. Oh. So maybe there are multiple... Oh, wait, this is AI generated. I shouldn't trust this bullshit. HIV.gov. Okay, if anybody's the authority on this. Damn. Wait, what? Where does AIDS only infect white blood cells? Or HIV. Yes, wasting all of our time today. Yes. Or do they hide in other organs or whatever too? Destiny, people can have a CD count less than 50 and we still don't diagnose them with AIDS. You need an AIDS-defining illness to have the formal diagnosis of AIDS. Oh. How is the wife, Destiny? You know I've been divorced for like a year, right? I don't understand what the point of this question is. Like in theory, if you had AIDS and were locked in a hermetically sealed room, you wouldn't actually be harmed at all. The actual bad part comes from the other diseases fucking your shit up, so it makes sense to include those other diseases in AIDS itself. I understand what you're saying, but that's not true. In the human body, there's a whole bunch of bacteria, and are there viral things? I think it's mainly just bacteria that live, that like naturally work with, they chill. They're like chilling. They're big chilling. And they're found throughout your digestive tract, all over your skin, whatever. But what happens when you have HIV is it's kind of like living next to a friend who you've been chill with the whole time. And then you think eventually you are, you're so chill that you can like start leaving your doors unlocked because all your white blood cells get killed. And then this guy starts walking into your basement and stealing all of your video games. You don't have to, even if you were locked in a room with HIV for your whole life and all of your, but nothing else ever comes into the room, just the naturally occurring bacteria that will fuck you. I think one of the ways that you can diagnose HIV is if you bring in a patient and you test them and they have a disease. I think there are certain types of diseases. There are certain types of pneumonias, I think, where like when you test it and the person has it, it's like, oh shit, how the fuck are you infected by this? Like the only way this is happening is if you have AIDS. Like you must. There's normal people don't get infected by this, I believe. Can you get HIV from oral sex? If like your partner is bloody and you're bloody, maybe, I think. But I think that's pretty difficult. Look up AIDS defining illnesses online and it'll be there. I thought there was literally only two. I thought it was HIV. I thought it was HIV and there's like one other very, very niche. Oh wait, unless you're talking about the like the opportunistic infections. No, I'm talking about the pathogens. There's a ton. There's a ton of pathogens that can cause your white blood cell count to fall that low, or there's a ton of pathogens that are opportunistic infections. Yeah, there's a lot of cancers and stuff that can. Yeah. Some people catch their HIV because they get dandruff from a yeast infection. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's like 20 of them. You have to remember them for boards and shit. Why? You said you get STD tested twice a month. Is that true? Fuck no. Twice a month? Usually it'll be every few months. I just got one recently, though. I like they changed the way that they show the results on your CVS, too, so you have to click through every single individual lab. So I get to see one at a time, whether or not I'm dying.
To talk more about those 8 White House visits by the Parkinson's expert, I'm joined tonight by Dr. Tom Pitts. He's a quadruple board certified neurologist. He sees...
What does quadruple board certified mean? Why would you get board certified more than once?
Patients with Parkinson's all the time. He diagnoses it. I want to be completely transparent here. You've never examined President Biden. From my knowledge, you've never even spoken yet to President Biden.
Been in the same room as
and we're just going to use what we have so far, which is what we've seen, the president's interviews, and the information coming out of the White House. So my first question to you...
Oh, different states. Okay. By the way, this Parkinson's expert was visiting the White House because they passed a Parkinson's bill. Remember when we weren't allowed to speculate on Donald Trump's mental health anymore, guys? Oh, wait, this is for 2024. Remember when it was, is it uncouth? That's a word, right? Awkward, clumsy, or unmannerly. uncouth for psychologists to come out and speculate on Donald Trump's mental health. But anyway, so here's our Parkinson's expert who's never formally examined President Biden to tell us why he has Parkinson's.
Is what we've seen, the president's interviews, and the information coming out of the White House. So my first question to you is, as somebody who's a neurologist, what you've seen from the president over the last 2 years, what you saw at the debate, the last few interviews, the way he speaks, the way maybe he walks, have you noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah, I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean...
Wait, I see him 20... Hold on, I need to pay attention to this. 1 second.
The last few interviews, the way he speaks, the way maybe he walks. Have you noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah, I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean, word finding difficulties, and that's not, oh, I couldn't find the word. That's from degeneration of the word retrieval area.
He's also overcome stuttering, though. Could that be part of that, too?
No, this is not a palatal issue or a speech discrepancy, which is very different from a lemon-node dysfunction, actual word retrieval, where you pick a similar question or talk around the issue, plus the rigidity, monotone voice.
Wait, go back to that, the rigidity. What do you mean?
Rigidity, lots of arm swing, standing up lordotically. You notice when he turns, it's kind of end-block turning. It's not a quick turn. So that's one of the hallmarks of Parkinson's is rigidity and bradykinesia, slow movement. And he has that hallmark, especially with the low voice, said was a cold, hypophonia. A small monotone voice like this over time is a hallmark of Parkinsonism. I could have diagnosed him from across the mall.
Here are some of the symptoms from Parkinson's. We just had him up there on the screen. If we can put him back. What about the movement? Some people have pointed out the way he walks sometimes. It's not very fast, small steps. Is that something that is common in people who are battling a disease like Parkinson's?
Yeah, it's a hallmark. Shuffling gait, we call that, so little steps. Loss of arm swing from the rigidity. When we walk, we have a nice cadence. You notice he doesn't really swing his arms. And end block turning, meaning he kind of pivots around his foot. If you said, hey, President Biden, he wouldn't go like this. So, yeah.
But I also know, tell me if I'm wrong here, it's very hard to diagnose Parkinson's, isn't it? It's not simple. I mean, I've heard that it can be...
It's one of the easier movement disorders to diagnose, actually.
Right,
but it's so clinic. There's very little other. And I'm a Democrat. I always say about this.
Right.
It's just like this guy is not a hard case.
But I've had relatives who have gone through neurological issues, and I've heard that sometimes Parkinson's is not very easy to nail. You have to take a lot of tests.
It's early on. If you're just presented with like hallucinations, that could be a variety of things, or just the cognitive problems. That could be Alzheimer's versus Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous. But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms,
right,
slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test, they'd be remediated.
So let me ask you.
Okay, we already are lawyer experts, so I want to be a medical expert too. Okay, here are questions that I would ask that make me really uncomfortable with this. However, I have not done anywhere near the amount of medical research. I'm sorry. Let me be clear. I don't think I've done any medical research. I've read like studies on diseases and done a lot of vaccine research, but in terms of like actually being a physician, I've done absolutely nothing. Okay, so I don't know. I could be incorrect on literally everything I'm about to say. Okay, so I think there's a couple things to keep in mind. One is, I think to diagnose somebody without having a formal relationship with a person, there's one big issue you run into by doing this informally. And one is you don't have access to patient history, right, to their chart. Part of diagnosing somebody, and this gets exponentially more harder when they're older, is when you're doing like a differential diagnosis, right? You have to account for some symptoms and you have to rule out other symptoms, right? So for instance, if I see somebody, it could be very easy to find symptoms that are at clinical stages, like they're presenting very significantly. And it's like, oh, he's got A, B, and C. This guy has absolutely XYZ disease, for sure. But if you were the actual person's physician, you might know, oh, well, hold on. 2 of these are accounted for because he just started a medication for this thing. These are common side effects. Or actually, he's got another disease and he's treating it with this medication, and this is why this particular thing is manifesting like this. If you don't have access to a person's chart or their patient history, there could be more at play that you aren't aware of. So I think you probably should be very responsible or make people know that you don't have access to this person's medical history, or their current, like you don't know their current medications, you don't know their any current other issues you might be suffering. That's one thing. I think a second thing that you have to keep in mind is when it comes to certain symptoms, there are a lot of symptoms that literally every single person can have, but there are like, am I using these terms correctly? Clinical or subclinical? Subclinical might just mean subdivisions. I think subclinical means it's a symptom that manifests, but it hasn't reached a clinically significant place that you would consider it like as a symptom, like diagnostically relevant. I think. Am I making that up? Where are my doctors at? The second issue is that everybody can have some symptoms, but it's up for somebody to do an evaluation to decide if these symptoms are clinically significant. Yeah, because they're subclinical mental disorders. Fuck, I don't know if I'm using this term correctly. I'm not sure. Clinically significant refers to the... Oh, I'm using AI. Fuck me. Hold on. Clinical significance is the practical importance of an effect, whether it has a real, genuine, palpable, noticeable effect on daily life. It is not the same as statistical significance. For instance, showing that a drug... Okay, that's true. Okay, yeah. So, okay, I think I'm using it correctly. The reason why I bring that up is because it's possible that you have symptoms that haven't reached a clinically significant level that you would use this diagnostically, because a lot of people exhibit a lot of symptoms for a lot of things. Traditionally, I believe, so stepping into something that I know a little bit more about when it comes to Alzheimer's disease, one of the difficulties about catching Alzheimer's disease early, I'm saying catching it, well, yeah, catching it early is that a lot of the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease are also very common with the symptoms of ordinary aging. People becoming a little bit more forgetful, having motor control issues, people getting a little bit irritable. A lot of these things have overlaps with a ton of other diseases and just ordinary aging. So you can say that like, oh, he's got this symptom, this symptom, this is, okay, yeah, right. All this to say, backing up, somebody can have 5 symptoms that are all associated with Parkinson's, but you don't have the patient history. You don't know what medication they're currently on. You don't know what symptoms or diseases they might currently have. So you don't know which of these are being caused by what you think it is versus something else. And number 2, it's hard to assess, I think, at a distance how significant these symptoms are, right? These are things that I would say probably make it, I would say, if I wasn't on stream cucking myself and trying to qualify everything like crazy, I would say it probably makes it highly unethical to engage in this sort of meandering thought on TV without doing a crazy amount of qualifying, right? Yeah. Oh, also, and I've said this before too, if you guys really want to know, for instance, if you're trying to check your health on blood tests and stuff, the only way to really know that is, 1 is if you're manifesting symptoms, and 2 is if you do blood tests over a series of time. You've got to do them over and over and over again to establish a baseline, and then you'll know if like certain levels are high or low, or if you've got a deficiency or whatever else, because the reference ranges on the acceptable levels of vitamins, hormones, or whatever in your body can be quite large. And you might have low or high of a particular vitamin or a particular hormone. You might have low or high, but you're still within the reference range, so you would never know from a single test, right? How this would be applicable here is, let's say that we could go back and look at Biden 5 years ago, and we were his doctor, and we went and we gave him a test. And let's say that Biden can do like 1-arm push-ups, okay? And he was like a fucking yoga master. And then we looked at him today. We're like, oh shit, you have a significant, like there is a significant decrease in mobility, and stiffness has increased massively. Something is happening here, right? But let's say that you've been his doctor for 20 years, and let's say that when he was 60, he always kind of like moves like this, right? And now let's say he's like a little bit worse today. You go like, it's probably not as relevant, right? This is the importance of like patient history and like having a chart to refer back to things that have happened before. Your bodies are always like works in progress. Your history is important. You change over time. Your medical stuff can be best effectively compared to yourself. There are still like acceptable reference ranges. Like if you're falling way out of the norm for a lot of things, like it's bad. Like just, it will be always, but just, these are all just like things to keep in mind. You're correct for almost everything. For Parkinson's, there's like a classical presentation that they teach you to ID on board exams. However, I don't know any good doctor that would ever go live to diagnose a patient they have no access to. Yeah, sure. And I'm sure also even for classical presentation of Parkinson's, I'm sure that you also probably ask a lot of other questions. My guess would be, again, not a physician at all, but my guess would be the very first question any physician would probably ask you in the hospital is, have you noticed any significant changes in how you feel about these things? That'd be my guess. Or has anybody around you noticed? That'd be my guess is the very first question. And the reason why is if it's not a long-term doctor, it's probably because they're trying to establish a baseline, right? They're going to say, oh, okay, yeah, tell me. And that, your answer there will inform probably a lot of the rest of the process. If you say something like, no, actually, ever since I was like 16, I fell off my bike, I've always had knee issues, I always kind of like move like this. And the doctor would keep that in mind, as he moves through, the diagnostic process. Or yeah, if you say something like, yeah, up until like, I'd say like 3 or 4 years ago, I did, Pilates, is that what they call it? I went down to the park and I ran a lot and I kind of had to stop running, and now I feel like I'm just really tight and stiff everywhere. And the doctor would keep that in mind. He's like, oh, okay, so something significantly has changed, right? Yeah. Ugh. What do you think the Parkinson's expert was doing visiting the White House 8 times? Who, him? I think he was just there. He's not, what, he wasn't Biden's doctor? What do you mean?
Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous. But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms, slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick...
Like, when you talk about these are everything he just described, and this is why the clinically significant part. Everything he just described is arguably part of aging as well, right? Like,
hallmark motor symptoms, slow movement.
Slow movement is something everybody that gets older slows down.
Rigidity.
Everybody that gets older gets a bit more rigid.
Mass facies.
Mass facies, is he talking about like kind of like blunt affect or face getting stuck? That might be a little bit more unique, but even so, my guess is going to be older people are probably generally less expressive than they were younger, especially when we start hitting the 80s.
Hypophonia. I mean, if
I don't know what hypophonia is. Hypophonia. I don't know what the phonia means. Soft, breathy, and abnormally weak speech. That's probably not as normal, my guess.
a med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test, they'd be remediated.
So let me ask you, if you had, you know, and I know you can't, you have no idea what happened in the White House, but a neurologist coming 8 times in 8 months, does that tell you anything? Is that, I mean, I know you're just.
Oh, the other neurologist. Okay.
Sort of speculating here, but does that tell you anything or no?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're like the best of friends or something, but that's a very specific, you know, he's a movement disorder. That's a subspecialist in exactly what he has. And there's very few young people, like a Marine Guard. Most people would be med boarded out for any type of movement disorder at a young age. Like if you had Huntington's chorea, early onset Parkinson's, dystonia, bad essential tremor, you're usually med boarded out. So I highly doubt there's.
What does that mean, med boarded out?
I mean, the military would not let you, if you have seizures, for example, you cannot usually be in the military. That is, you are.
So you're saying you don't necessarily believe, and they're not saying this, but they said there's thousands of military members that go to the White House and are treated.
Why are you comfortable diagnosing people with BPD or narcissism? I don't know if narcissism is a formal diagnosis. I'm not a medical professional, so it's not. I don't really. It's my word is just like as a layman, like here I am. If I was like board certified, or if I was like a physician, I don't know if I would be comfortable making those same assessments publicly. I think that would be grossly irresponsible, probably.
There for health reasons, you're not buying that that's a random military person.
No, that would be very odd to just see a random movement disorder case at the White House.
But also, I'm never wrong, so. Sorry, device, I'm unbanning you. The problem is that Dems are already ready for Biden to lose. Oh wait, that wasn't what I was looking for. Wouldn't Biden have gotten Parkinson's years ago? It can probably develop at different ages. From an MD, you're correct. Don't cuck yourself. Diagnosing someone or even alluding to a diagnosis without their history is unethical, especially on TV. You can look up subclinical hypothyroidism as an example as well. Okay.
Not let you, if you have seizures, for example, you cannot usually be in the military. That is, you are.
So you're saying you don't necessarily believe, and they're not saying this, but they said there's thousands of military members that go to the White House and are treated there for health reasons. You're not buying that that's a random military person.
No, that would be very odd to just see a random movement disorder case at the White House. You know, especially a young guard. There aren't many young people that have movement disorders that could be in the military.
And then, you know, a lot of people have called for a cognitive test. What exactly would that entail? What does that mean?
Now, that's the key, because word finding retrieval doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you want to say. What I cannot comment on is his ability to make good decisions.
Sorry, hold on. I need to keep. I can't comment on this, but I can. Okay.
Right.
And then, you know, a lot of people have called for a cognitive test. What exactly would that entail? What does that mean?
Now, that's the key, because word finding retrieval doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what you want to say. What I cannot comment on is his ability to make good decisions. His motor symptoms are degenerating. He has Parkinsonism. That is a fact. You know, he has degeneration of the brain. Show me the MRI. Show me he doesn't. You know, put your money where your mouth is. He definitely has it. But the problem is, when you look at his situation, you can't say, oh, I know for a fact that because he didn't retrieve the word, he...
Oh my God, I just got the fucking most Kino fuck idea in the world. God, I just got the most Kino fucking idea in the world. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Joe Biden goes into a hospital. 2 neurologists examine him. One appointed by the Republicans, one appointed by the Dems. Okay? And then he gets a full brain scan, MRI, everything else. All of his medical records. And Biden says, I'm ready to post all of this publicly, and I give my permission to do it right after Donald Trump posts his tax returns. Boom. Donald posts his tax returns. Biden can post his shit. Maybe he has dementia. He's like, I do have Parkinson's. I'm dropping out. Here's Kamala. Good luck. Boom. Absolute Kino moment.
Didn't know what he wanted to say. And that's why both him and Trump should take the 4-hour neuropsychological testing, which is the hallmark test for cognitive performance.
What do you do in this test?
A lot of things. So, for example, they may have you say as many words as you can in a minute that start with F. Block building, retrieval. I may say cup and have you recall it 3 minutes later. Trail drawing. These are done with a professional PhD in neuropsychology. It has nothing to do with psychiatry. And we can tell if you have
It's 4 hours long?
4 hours. It's a full day. We tell people bring a snack. It is a full day. And that...
Do you agree with the labeling of different mental conditions as specific things like depression, ADHD, autism, etc.? Sure.
So not the MOCA, which was a bedside test that President Trump took. You know, these are tests that are screening tests. They don't rule in. You know, if you do great,
there's no way to sort of lie in this test to sort of ace it, even though you're saying
no way. This one will come out in the wash. For example, if I do the bedside exam to an accountant and I ask them what's 100 minus 7, even the worst neurodegenerative patient, if they worked at a high education level or something like that, is going to get that right. But in the 4-hour test, it will come out.
Finally, I mean, you said you're a Democrat, you're a doctor. You sound like you're frustrated with what the White House is saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, you know, I'm an American before everything. And I look at it and say, when I used to see Russia, Soviet Union, North Korea, when they just make outrageous things, you know, like when North Korea can't keep the lights on and they say, oh, you know, it was some faulty power thing. I kind of hate that kind of stuff. They had 4 years, my own party had 4 years to find, you know, this was a wreck in slow motion. And they had 4 years to find out of 350 Americans, one person that could take the place. And here we are the day before school trying to do the homework and replace a guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Pitts, we thank you for joining Top Story. And again, I know you've never examined President Biden. I want to say you've never spoken to President Biden, but you're going off what you've seen on television and interviews and all of your expertise. Yeah. Doctor, we appreciate that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Fuck, wait, I just had another God-sending idea, and it just slipped from my mind. Because my Parkinsonisms. What did you say? Wait, fuck.
Guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Pitts, we thank you for joining Top Story. And again, I know you've never examined President
in North Korea. When they just make outrageous tests, it will come out.
Finally, I mean, you said you're a Democrat, you're a doctor. You sound like you're frustrated with what the White House is saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, you know, I'm an American before everything. And I look at it and say, when I used to see Russia, Soviet Union, North Korea, when they just make outrageous things, you know, like when North Korea can't keep the lights on and they say, oh, you know, it was some faulty power thing. I kind of hate that kind of stuff. They had 4 years, my own party had 4 years to find, you know, this was a wreck in slow motion. And they had 4 years to find out of 350 Americans, one person that could take the place. And here we are the day before school trying to do the homework and replace a guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Pitts, we thank you for joining
I remember. Nobody's saying it now, but thank God Biden isn't black. Because if he was, they'd be calling him the DEI president. But since he's white, hallelujah, white Jesus, white God. Feels so good to never have to be on trial for my own race or gender. I love that. I love it when I fuck up, I'm not bringing down all the other white people with me. Thank God. Whew. Where's the Goldwater rule now? I believe the Goldwater rule only applied to psychologists or psychiatrists or people who worked in mental health. I don't think it was for all. I don't even know if it applied to physicians. The American Psychiatric Association adopted the Goldwater rule in 1973, prohibiting members. Okay, so members of the American Psychiatric Association. It must apply to psychologists as well, though, right? Probably.
Story. And again, I know you've never examined.
The AMA had a similar rule, which applies to physicians. Wait, does it? AMA Goldwater rule. These cognitive tests are done by neuropsychologists. I'm sure, my guess is the cognitive test can probably be administered by a ton of different disciplines. Like my guess would be a physician could administer it, or like a neurologist or a neuro, whatever. That'd be my guess. But I could be wrong. Like I'm pretty sure like an ophthalmologist could probably do like an eye exam, right? But I mean, you wouldn't want to pay him for it now. Psychiatrists are physicians. Yeah, but psychologists are not, generally.